Let's get into this conversation now. 2 children are among those killed in a shooting which took place in Ladysmith last night. National Police Commissioner Fani Masemula last week confirming the deployment of more public order police to ensure stability after the elections. Let's speak about the ongoing violent crime that is unfolding in KwaZulu-Natal. And joining us for this conversation is Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. General, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let me start with the latest figures that you will confirm whether or not we are correct here. Police reinforcements in KZN now total 1,200. How should the public understand what's going on here around this deployment?
Yeah, well, good evening, Xoli, and all the viewers at home. The SAPS KZN, if you recall, before the election, we made announcements with regard to our security readiness for the elections. What we understand as a province of KwaZulu-Natal, that almost every time we're going to have elections, we have a responsibility to secure the campaigning period, as well as the voting period and post-election, which is the time when some people are happy and others are not happy. And people start fighting for positions. And I'm sure you know that as until today, it's been a pretty stable, quiet province thus far. We do hope that after the swearing in of the new leadership today, life will be normal going forward. So our plan has always been that we're going to supplement our deployments for the period until we're comfortable that we are done with anything that's got to do with elections.
Yeah.
So the numbers that you're talking about, over 1,200, yes, I can confirm that we've got over that number. It's not that number, but it's over that number.
Are you able to give us the exact figure?
Well, our operational tactics, we cannot display them on public platform like this, so we cannot be able to tell you what numbers we have on the ground. But we said when we started the elections that we're going to have over 17,000 police officers operating here during election period. So this is part of the plan.
Sure. Although you say it has been quiet, I would say perhaps relatively quiet, even though we saw last night yet more murders in KwaZulu-Natal. 2 children, as I mentioned here, are among those that were counted to have been killed. The Premier, the new Premier who's just been sworn in his address today, talking about 6 women who were killed. What is going on, to your understanding? Are these targeted killings? If so, what is at the root or at the heart of the problem?
Yeah, well, as law enforcement, ours is not to guess. We cannot be analysts and speculate. Ours is to investigate the real cause. As we are pursuing the investigation, the initial investigation seems to point at 2 possibilities, which none of them are political. One could be the family feud, and the other could be tax-related. So we are pursuing the leads in both of those environments, for us to be able to know the real reason for this senseless killing that happened last night.
Yeah, that's the latest incident. Curiously, I want to focus the attention first on political killings. The MK party says it's the only one that appears to be losing members at the hands of unidentified gunmen. The question, therefore, that the public, and I suppose that party, is possibly asking themselves is this deployment serving its purpose?
Xoli, if you recall, the public will know that in 2018-2019 financial year, I was deployed in this province of KwaZulu-Natal on the acting capacity as the provincial commissioner. During the period, through the guidance of the Minister of Police and the National Commission at the time, we have reconfigured what was referred to before as a task team that was established to look after or to investigate cases that are political related. We then was given a task to reconfigure the team and form a new squad, and then that's what I did, and appointed different senior officers that were going to oversee that operation. And from that time in 2018 to date, that team has been on the ground in this province, KZN. I left the province in 2019, and I was still coordinating the work of that team while I was still at the national office. I came back in 2021, and the team is still in this province and still operating, and they are still investigating cases, and they've had very good successes over time because they've been working with, I think, just over 331 cases or somewhere there that they were investigating ever since they took responsibility in 2018 to date. And there's been a number of arrests, high-profile people, hitmen, organizers, different people that have been arrested. Thus far, there's a total of 369 suspects that has been arrested as a result, and quite a number of firearms that have been recovered in the operations that have been conducted by the team.
Yeah.
So the deployment of what you see now that you are referring to, it's a stabilization deployment. It's not the investigation team. It's the deployments that has got to do with the stability, crowd management forecast in the main, in terms of post-election events. It's not necessarily much about what you refer to.
Yeah.
In as far as matters in the province, we know that we've been having a lot of challenges in KZN. People in KZN are very aggressive. They're unlike the rest of the country. That's why we have established different teams that have been chasing these hitmen. And there's been a lot of shooting incidents that's been happening as we've been encountering them on the street corners in the middle of the night in some dangerous places, and farms been recovered. And in the process, we've lost a police officer through this fight that we've been busy with. So what you've seen that's happened last night is part of the operations that we're going to focus on, as we've been focusing on the other operations where multiple matters have been happening in this province. So the teams that have been assigned already in the province, they are taking over cases of multiple matters, and they are running with them. And we hope we're going to have a breakthrough also on this one in Ladysmith in no time.
Yeah. I want to then focus the attention on the stabilization deployment on the back of the elections, as you say, because the MK party is saying, and this they said on Sunday night, which was the 16th of June, that the deployment of the police officers in such large numbers in KZN is somehow targeted at them and painting them as, quote unquote, a violent people, when in fact they are the ones who are losing members. Is that a fair comment from the MK party, you think, towards the police?
It is the speculation, and I don't believe that the police will ever plan against a specific organization. It's a speculation which I want to disagree with. The SAPS, as I said earlier, have put out plans in order to deal with any incident that might happen in the province post-elections, during or before, during, and post-elections. So we cannot then be told as we are rolling out the plan that we are rolling it out because we are targeting someone. When we started planning, we did not even know which political party is going to be influential come the end of the voting period. So whatever came out after the 29th of May, it's a democracy at work, and everybody had the right to choose what they wanted to choose.
Yeah.
We as law enforcement remain neutral, and ours is to make sure that the very same political parties, including the ones you're talking about, which I'm quite happy with them, because in incidents where one of their supporters or one of their members was shot and killed when he was walking after dropping off a child at school, he was shot and a firearm was taken from him. The motive for that, whether is it political or not, it can only be revealed once we effected an arrest as a police.
Yeah.
And I'm happy because the very same political party mentioned that they believe that the police are capable of investigating. We've proven ourselves that we are able to investigate complex cases. So I don't believe, perhaps if it was a statement from the very same party, it might be contrary to what they've said before.
Yeah.
But I can give an assurance to the political parties concerned and any other political party and any other citizen in this province that while I'm still here and heading this organization, together with the men and women in blue that are in this organization, working with our counterparts from all law enforcement agencies that we have in this province, we are not going to be targeting anyone for anything. As long as you're a law-abiding citizen, you're going to be our friend. The moment you cross that line, then it's a different ballgame. So
Yeah.
I want to urge all citizens to stay responsible. That's what we need from everyone.
While we're on the theme of political parties, one of the parties we spoke to tonight was the ANC. Its spokesperson, I asked her the very same question about whether they have been taken into confidence about why such a large police deployment in KZN. I'd like for us to just listen for a moment to refresh the viewer's mind as to what she had to say, and we'll continue in a moment.
It's occasioned by the need to be preemptive about any possible, fallouts arising out of the fact that the ANC went to South Africa and to all the political parties represented in the national legislature and in the provincial legislatures, and extended the olive branch to say, please be part of the government of national unity. We invite you to do so. There are parties that, of course, elected not to be. And we've seen a number of scenes outside of the KZN legislature that are reminiscent of a semblance of instability. It would seem to me, well, I'm a civilian, I'm not an intelligence operative, but it would seem to some of us that it is important for the police to be on the alert.
Commissioner, that is Mahlengi Mutsiri of the ANC, and I want to zoom in on a particular statement she makes, and that is that the parties that chose not to participate, it would appear in her statement that these are possibly the parties that they are worried about that could cause instability. Now, you said yours is not to speculate, it's to investigate and come with evidence should any political party be a perpetrator of violence, if you like. Are you aware of specific parties that could be planning any kind of instability in KZN?
Xoli, I want to repeat again, I'm not a politician, and the members that I lead, they are not politicians. Ours is to do that which the Constitution, Section 205, subsection 3 of the Constitution tells us what to do, not a political party. So we are not being appointed by any political party, regardless which party it is, the ruling party at national or the ruling party at the provincial office, at the provincial level. We are neither affiliated to those parties. We are constitutionally appointed. All police officers under Police Act, they are appointed to discharge their duties, that which the Constitution, which is written by the people of this republic, who adopted it and they gave us the task. So that's what we are on about. When people are exercising their rights in this country, the rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, which allows them to gather, for anyone that then start fearing their gathering, that person's problem. So you're not going to say when people gather and they belong to a political party or whatever it is, traditional leadership, sporting activities that they are involved in, any gathering in this country is allowed under this Constitution. It doesn't matter which political party it is. And it doesn't matter whether they gather in front of the legislature or wherever, as long as we, as law enforcement, don't see anything wrong in them gathering there. And they are doing that so peacefully. They can sing, of course. They can be wearing their T-shirts. If someone feels intimidated, that is their problem. It is the unfortunate part. But they must trust the law enforcement that they are going to protect them, and they are also going to protect those that are gathering. So it is time South Africans learn to understand the laws of this country and learn to understand the rights that everyone has. Whether you like that person, or you like that party, or you don't like that party, it is just the law. Today, we're inaugurating the Premier. The Premier was appointing his executive. They were as a group that marched, and they wanted to come closer to the venue to express their dissatisfaction about what was happening today. It is our part of the security plan as the law enforcement to come up with what you refer to as a speaker's corner, where anyone that want to any grievance will go to that specific corner and gather there and make whatever noise they want to make, and they speak because they've got the right. You can't stop them.
Yeah.
It's a democratic South Africa, so we want to make sure that we protect everyone as law enforcement. We in the South African Police Service have mobilized police for the deployment, not for a specific political party. Not for a specific political party, but to make sure that there is stability in the province going forward. And I believe that, and I'm very proud of all the political parties in this province. They took an oath before the nation, before the citizens of this province at the IEC event that was convened prior to the elections, where they committed themselves to abide by the code. And to date, I've never heard of any one of these political parties breaking that code. So for me, it means all the parties have committed themselves to make sure that they abide by the law.
All right.
But of course, there might be those few individuals that might want to act and be vigilantes in this province and try and incite violence or instigate others to commit violence. Others started that before the elections, and we registered cases, and others already are appearing before courts as a result. So we'll continue pursuing those that are posting things on social media. We are aware of them, those that are posting on different, communicating on different platforms, and trying to excite people to take it to the street. And sadly, some of them are very high-profile politicians that are not even in KZN, where they speak from outside and they say, should people of KZN behave in this fashion, they shouldn't be playing. That is exciting them, people in KZN, to do something. So, and I speak to the leadership here and I say, do not do that which people think they want to do. Don't let them influence you to do wrong while they are sitting and watching TV and enjoying popcorns in their own comfortable homes while you suffer in the province.
Yeah.
People of this province have learned a lot in 2021, and I don't think anyone wants to go back into that state of affairs. But we as law enforcement, we cannot take chances, we cannot guess, we must always be on the street, protect the individuals, protect everyone's right, and we make sure that this is a law-abiding province.
Commissioner, I want then to move on to targeted assassinations of non-political figures. So we were talking about political-related killings. Now we're talking about the targeted assassinations of people who are not politicians. I want to remind you of a certain incident that happened just before the May 29 elections last month. A businessman, Jabulo Ngobo, was shot at while driving in his vehicle, and he says what saved him was to get on the phone with you, and you then directed him as to what to do. Just briefly, what happened there?
Yeah, well, that was a very unfortunate incident. I can confirm that, yes, indeed, it was the police officer, there were police officers that they had a shooting incident together with Mr. Ngobo. When he called me, even myself, I was not aware of that incident. So when he called me, the only thing I could think of immediately is to get him in a place of safety while I was mobilizing backup in order to protect him. That's why the police arrived there in a flash to make sure that he's safe, because we have a constitutional responsibility to make sure that he is safe. Later, it discovered that it's police officers that were involved with that incident. For that reason, that we felt it is then an opportune period that we must not investigate that case as the police in order to make sure that there's no biasness. So that case that was registered but was transferred to the Independent Police Investigative Directorate for them to have an independent investigation on a matter that involves a police officer. Yeah. However, we internally as law enforcement, as police, we instituting disciplinary steps in order to investigate, to find out exactly whether did these members do wrong, and if so, to what extent and what type of corrective measures that must be done on them if there is any need for that.
All right. Do you think, though, that the targeting of people who are not politicians, and I'm going to bring up the famous case of AKA and Tibbs, do you think that these cases are slowly coming down in KZN, or they are still a major worry for you?
Yeah, well, when we look at our crime stats over a period, KZN has been affected heavily by murders, especially hits, as you call them. But when you look at the stats, you can draw them. It's a public knowledge out there that murder rate has been slowly decreasing in this province. There's quite a lot of bad guys that are behind bars, and there's quite a lot of them, unfortunately, that have left this earth. Which I do not know whether could it be because those that are mainly behind bars or those that are deceased are the ones that were behind the spate of murders, or maybe the people that were behind hiring them have decided to stop doing that. But whatever the case may be, we've seen a reduction in terms of murders, and we appreciate that. And we'll want to see a double-digit decrease on these murders so that we can have a safer province. We want to attract investment in this province. We want to make sure that the citizens of this province get job opportunities and everyone lives happily. And that's what we want to see. We don't want people to fear coming to KZN and because of these matters. That's why we're working very hard as a police.
How close are you to nabbing the mastermind behind the AKA and Tibbs's murder?
Yeah, well, we explained our investigation strategy that we employed when we're dealing with the case. What we know is that the group that we've arrested and we sent them to court, is that what we had agreed on with the NPA, that we'll be ready to prosecute those. Investigation has not stopped. So we pursue the others that are linked to that group, and we're going to continue pursuing them. And as when we finalize those investigations, we'll brief you so that you are aware of it, that we have made another stride in terms of the investigation. So until we are confident that there's other people that we must add on the charge, and we've closed all the loops, all the gaps that we've identified, then we'll be able to bring them before court.
Yeah. Two quick questions in one, Commissioner. Crime intelligence. It would seem that it is what is helping you in your strategy to foil some of what you think as the police are crimes that are about to happen. And as a result of this, a number of suspected criminals have died at the hands of the police. However, there are those who are sitting and saying, but these are extrajudicial killings by the police. How many such cases are being investigated against the police now? I would assume here by the IPID.
Yeah, well, for the law says for every shooting or any death as a result of police action, we have an obligation to report that to the IP, and the IP takes the docket and they investigate. So every other shooting that we ever heard of that involves the police, the case of that incident is with the IP. So they will better explain to you as to the status of those cases. Okay. Whether IP investigate and arrest, if there was any wrong the members will have done, and arrest and prosecute members, the South African Police Service in this province of KwaZulu-Natal is not going to sit down and watch the citizen being held hostage by gruesome criminals. We are not going to sit back. We're going to lay our lives as some of our members have been injured in the process and some of our members have died in this process. But we're not going to sit back and allow citizens to be held hostage by the young men and the organized rich business people who use their resources, financial and otherwise, to terrorize communities, to terrorize business, and to cause mayhem in this province. That is not going to happen. And ours, if need be, that we might have to sacrifice our lives, we'll do that in order to protect the citizen. Of course, we do that within the parameters of the law. We want to respect every citizen. That's why the clever ones, they surrender. They don't put a fight against the police. But those that feel that they are brave, they are trained enough to take us on, we meet in the battle. And for the one who's stronger than survives, and it's a war. We don't want it because, as I said, we also end up with casualties. In the war, there's going to be casualties on both sides. So we don't want the war. We take it to the criminals. For those that are working well with us, there's quite a lot of criminals that come and hand themselves over as soon as they know that you're looking for them, and which makes life much easier, that we then take them and present them in court. And others to date that might have been arrested for serious crimes, they are even given bail. And we protect their rights as they're on bail, they remain on bail, they come in, sign into the station, and they go. Because it's the law that we want to see being served all the time.
All right. Commissioner, I'm completely out of time. Very briefly, today, the Premier announcing that the community safety portfolio is now going to reside in the Premier's office. Does that mean that you are now going to be reporting directly or have some relationship with the Premier's office? How's this going to work?
The Constitution makes it clear, Xoli, that the police in the province, for instance, as a starter, the provincial commissioner, for that individual to be appointed, a man and a woman to be appointed in terms of Section 207 of the Constitution, the national commissioner will consult the executive of the province and appoint that person. And then it gives a responsibility then, the Constitution gives a responsibility then to the provincial commissioner to make sure that he works very close with the provincial government and present the plans of policing in the province to the legislature and account on the work that we do in the province. So we are here to serve the community of this province of KwaZulu-Natal. The government of the day, as I've said before, that has been put out now, is the one that is going to give direction of what are the priorities that need to be focused on, whilst we are having our own priorities as a South African Police Service. But in as far as crime fighting is concerned, there are different, I think we talk about 17 community-reported crimes that we record, that we present on an annual basis. The provincial government might want to prioritize few of those, and they say, can you put more effort on these ones? We want to see a heavy reduction on these. So we're going to direct our resources mainly to attend to those that the provincial government feels is more of a priority to them. Then we'll account it to the executive as we account at the national level as well as South African Police Service. So it's not to say that the Premier has taken the responsibility of the police. The Constitution still gives the responsibility of the police to be a national entity, not a provincial entity. But we have a relationship in the province as we work with the Premier. That's why today we're taking him out in order to introduce him to the police after he's been sworn in. He took the salute from the police as a #1 citizen of the province, so that you can be able to then listen to what he has to say, which is in line with the law that we are employed to execute.
KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, thank you very much for your time, sir, this evening.